Hello, my name's Sophie and I'm going to show you how to make this hair scrunchie. I'm going to do it in real time so you can see exactly what you get in the kit and also how to make it. So this is the kit that you would receive in the post. Okay, so let's open it up. And we have some fabric and we have a needle and thread. And we have some instructions. We also have the elastic and a safety pin. So this is everything that you get in your scrunchie kit. Let me just show you over here. Okay. You've got your instructions, your safety pin, your thread and needle, your fabric and your elastic. Okay, here we go. So here's your instructions. So it says you'll need fabric, which we have, tape measure, which I have, fabric scissors, which I have, pins, which I have here on my pin cushion my son made for me years ago, and I also have clips as well, just because I prefer clips when I can use them. Needle and thread, safety pin and elastic, all which I have here. Okay, so you can do this by hand or you can use your sewing machine. I'm going to use my sewing machine today just because I find sewing machine much easier, but you can make your scrunchie by hand as well. Okay, so it says cut fabric into a 4 by 22 inch strip. So let's start with that. Let's get our fabric out. Oh, this is a gorgeous sateen look, because that's the back and that's the front. So I'm going to use, obviously, make sure I sew it all right and correctly. So I'm just going to measure this out. This is my first time doing a video, so bear with me. Okay, so that's centimetres. Let's move that out the way. So we need a 22 inch strip. So I do have my ruler here as well. And this one is 28 inch wide. And at the shortest point, it is 6.5. And at the longest point, it's 7.5. Okay, so I need to make sure that this is cut to size. So let's get that done. So do I have my... Okay, so I don't have any chalk here, so I would recommend using chalk or heat erasable pen, etc. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this fabric in half and I'm going to get some clips. Okay, just because this is a sateen, and if you've got sharp pins, great. But if some of your pins are a bit blunt, like mine are now from overusage, they might just damage the fabric, this specific fabric anyway. So I folded it in half and I've pinned it together, as you can see, and it needs to be 4 inches wide. Now because I've folded it in half, I'm going to measure 2 inches. Okay, so let me just move my clip out of the way a second. There we go. So 2 inches, and because I don't have chalk or heat erasable pen on me, I'm just going to do a little snip. Now that is just over 2 inches, but that'll be fine because you won't see that anyway once we sew it up. Okay, and then if I was marking it, let me see if I can find a pen actually. It's going to bother me. here we go. I've got my heat erasable pen here. This is going to be so much easier. So 2 inches from the fold, because remember I've got my fabric folded in half. And I'm going to make lines or marks all the way down the fabric. Okay, hopefully you can see this. 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, and make sure I do a mark at the end, 2 inches. Next, I am going to join up all my markings along the fabric. There we go. Don't worry if, like me, it's not exactly matched up. I know that that's 2 inches. It's probably just because of the fabric. Yep, bang on 2 inches. Bang on 2 inches, perfect. Okay, and then you can either use a rotary cutter or some fabric scissors. Today I'm going to use fabric scissors because I know most people have fabric scissors. Not everybody has a rotary cutter. Okay, so this is what my fabric is looking like so far. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut following my line down. Take your time, there's no need to rush. As this one is a sateen fabric, it can be a little slippery. So if you do decide to use your rotary cutter, I would use a solid ruler next to it to keep the fabric flat so it doesn't move. Put pressure on that before you use your rotary cutter to cut it. Okay, so that's my 4 inches wide and 22 inches long is what I need it. So let's mark this. Now I know this fabric is a lot longer than 22 inches. So if I go 22 at the end, and I'm going to mark it at this end, just pull my camera out so you can see a bit better. So I'm on 22 at this end, and then that is 22 inches long, so I've got this left over. So I'm just going to snip that there. Perfect. Okay, so cut the fabric into 24 by 22 inch strip. Done. Fold the fabric in half length. Fold the fabric in half lengthwise inside out and pull along the edge and sew, pin along the edge, sorry, and sew from one end to the other. Okay, so my fabric is currently folded the right way out. So I'm going to, is it? No, it's not. I had it folded correct. So this is the right side. This is the wrong side, or the reverse of the fabric. So we're going to fold it in half. And this is where you can pin or clip. As I said, I prefer clips where I can. So I'm just going to match that all back up. Here we go. All the way down to the other end. Now it doesn't say the seam allowance that I need. So I think you can go with what's comfortable for you. I think I will go for, let's have a look, maybe 3/4 of an inch. Now at this point you can mark your sew line, your seam allowance, sorry, on here, or you can just go for it freehand. Now because it's sateen and I know it can move around a little bit, I'm actually going to mark this a little bit, or mark my seam allowance. So 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch. And I'm doing this all along the fabric. In places. There's no kind of rule to this. This is very sporadic. If you're hand sewing, I would definitely suggest doing your markings, just because it will give you that guide on where to sew, so it's not going all skew-eff as you're sewing it. As I'm using the sewing machine, I do have a guide on there, but I am still going to mark it out on my fabric. There we go. Perfect. Like so. There we are. So there's my seam allowance line marked on there to make it easier for me. Okay, so that's step 1, and let's turn on my machine now and we'll get sewing. I am not personally too worried about the colours of my thread. What do I have in here? I have blue and I got blue. So I'm just going to quickly change these to white and white. I don't mind that it's not going to colour match because I'm not going to see it anyway. It's on the inside. And here's my white bobbin. Oh, it's a little tangled. So let's just clear that. Ooh. There we go. You can colour match your thread if you want to. I, like I said, am not worried about it. Now my needle threader I need to sort out because it's not working at the moment. Right. Oh. Just trim that bit. There we go. Ooh. What have I done here? Oh, I've tangled it up around the needles. Good start, Sophie. Okay. Through the needle. Make sure it's not tangled. Pull that all out so it's all correct. There we go. Now, on these ones, you do have a piece of fabric on the bag which shows you the fabric of the scrunchie inside and the colour, so you can either take that off, or what I'd recommend is getting a piece of your scrap fabric that you cut off, just fold it in half, just to double check your stitching and make sure you've got all your settings correct. Again, if you're hand sewing, you won't need to do this. So at the moment I've got it on straight stitch. I've got the length 2.5 and the width 3.5. So let me just see how that's going to turn out. It's also good to make sure that my sewing machine is all threaded up correctly. Okay, let me have a look at this and make sure I'm happy with the stitches. I'm happy with those stitches. The fabric's not pulling tight or anything like that, so here we go. Let me see if I can bring you in closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I have my mark there, and I'm just going to put that straight down, like so. I do have a few magnetic seam guides. I'm going to use this one today just to stop me from going too far. as it's setting, just really take your time, go slow, and there's no need to rush. I'm going to go, don't forget to do your back stitch to make sure that it stays in place. And stop, pull the pin off. Excuse my hitting up there. And I'm just making sure that the fabric is going through there. I'm not pulling it, just letting it feed it through the machine like so, and then when I need to remove another clip I will do so. Or if you're using nice sharp pins, you can do that as well. Some people choose to sew over their needles, pins. I don't, just because I'm not brave enough. And I just worry in case I catch them. Sorry. Down you go, Fluffy. You're not allowed up here. There we go. I need to move the next clip. And we're just keeping it going. Like so. Now the scrunchies do come with lots of different fabric types and colours. Some are designed, some are plain. This is just one that I grabbed up off the shelf. And also when you've got your kit, you can keep your instructions and you'll always have them there. They're nice and small enough for you to store away on an A5 bit of paper for you to always go back and make some more as well. Oh, you can see my messy towels in the corner. Sorry about that. But this is live from my lounge. Okay. As it gets towards the end, it is moving around slightly, so I'm just guiding it. And then don't forget to do, I usually do it 3 or 4 back stitches just to secure it in place. And there you go. That's all stitched down. Now if you're using a cotton, I would definitely recommend ironing it as well. If you've got an overlocker, you can overlock the edge as well. I do have an overlocker, but it's not all set up at the moment, so I'm not going to do that. Okay. Pull the strip right side out. To do this, attach a safety pin at one end and thread it through the inside of the tube, pulling through to the other end. Turn it out. Okay. That's fine. So where's my safety pin? I know I had one. There it is. Right. My seam, as you can see, is quite a large seam. I done that to ensure that it wouldn't slip and slide and to make sure that I had enough room. So before I do the next step, depending on what you chose as your seam allowance, I am going to trim this just very slightly along the edge. I'm leaving about 1/4, half an inch seam allowance. Like I said, you can choose your own seam allowance. It depends how comfortable you are, how confident you are, and also how large you want your scrunchie. Sorry, do you know what? My kittens never do this. And then as soon as I'm videoing, they're here. Down you go. Right. So there we go. I've just trimmed it. And now we're going to turn it in the right way. There's other ways you can do this. So I've just clipped it on at one end, and now I'm going to feed that through. You can feel it going down. So you can use a tube, you can use a straw. There's lots of different ways that you can do this. So I've got it in there. I'm holding the safety pin here. Obviously it is clipped on at this end. So I'm just feeding it down, feeding it down. feeding it down, and I'm just pulling that up slightly, as you can see, and I can actually feel that it's turning itself in the other way. Here we go. And let me turn it round so I can just pull it out. As this is sateen, it's a lovely, nice, easy fabric to turn in the other way. And this is what it looks like. So I've now done that step. Step 3. Cut a 9-inch piece of elastic and attach it to the safety pin. Okay. Now we had elastic that come with it. I'm just going to check the size of this. And this is 10 inches. And we want 9 inches. So I'm just going to chop off 1 inch. You don't have to. You can keep it at the 10. Excuse me. The 10 inch if you wish, but I've decided to follow the instructions, so I'm going with the 9 inch and attach the safety pin to one end. When I attach the safety pin, I am just folding the elastic over slightly just to give it a bit more ease, hopefully, when I thread it through. Thread the elastic through the tube, being careful not to let go of the other end. Okay. So this is where you've got to thread it through, but you can't let go of the end of elastic here. Okay, so I'm going to hold that base. That's a bit awkward, isn't it? And I'm going to start threading it down. Let's try and show you close up. So this is my safety pin within my fabric. It has the elastic attached to it. All right. And I am holding the other side of the elastic just with my finger and thumb. I'm holding it like that as I thread it through. You may have a trick or a tip that you use when doing this. But as you can see, it's going on really well. I'm not having any worries with it. It's not pulling too tight, and it's easy just to push it over the elastic. There we go. That's what it looks like. Number 5, remove the safety pin and tie the elastic in a double knot securely. Okay. So take the safety pin off. You can sew this together if you wish, or you can tie it in a double knot. So there's different ways you can do this. You can do this like this, you know, your normal tying twice, or you can take both ends, wrap it around your finger and underneath and pull. So that is nice and tight. Now, fold in the edge to create an even seam, tuck one opening inside the other, pin in place to hold, then sew the new seam to join the two sides and close the circle. Okay, well, so you can just have that one tucked in, the end of the elastic like so, and then you're folding over. So you see I've got like the raw edges there. You're folding over carefully. Make sure you tuck them in because you don't want raw edges out. Like so. What I'm going to do here, I'm just going to clip that I folded in to stop it from moving around as I do the other side. Okay. folding it in, like so. Oh, this is fiddly. Doesn't help I've got chubby fingers. There we go. So I folded that in that side as well. Now I need to join these two together. Okay, so just overlapping them. Okay, let's make sure we match it up. So I'm matching up the seam with the seam, as you can see. And I am going to pin this because this is going to be super fiddly. Now, when you pin, be careful not to pin the other side of the fabric like that. You just want to pin the fabric. Does that make sense? You just want to pin the bit that you need to sew around. You don't want to pin all the way around. There we go. So I've got a couple of pins in there. Now you can do this on your sewing machine or you can do this by hand. I think this is going to be much easier to do by hand, and I have my needle and I have my matching thread. So this is going to be great. And put my needle there, don't lose it. And unravel a bit of thread. So I don't know if you can see this. Got to thread your needle. There we go. Like so. Okay. And move my pins out the way. Unwind it a bit. Doesn't matter if you unwind it too much because you can trim it anyway at the end, and I'm just going to trim. Now, I'm not a confident hand sewer. If you are, I'm sure you'll be fabulous at this. So I am just doubling the thread over. I feel for me, this is going to be the easiest and best way to do it. So you're tying a knot at the end of your thread. I've doubled them, like I said. Not everybody does. Some people just use the one thread, and I'm just going to trim the end, like so. Perfect. Now, so you're going to get your scrunchie, and what you need to do is sew all around your, let me bring up your join that you've made, okay, where my pins are. You do not want to get the elastic caught in it. And what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to go from the inside of the seam and push my needle up. Do you see that? So that the thread knot will be on the inside. Pull it through. Oh, I pulled it all the way through. Let's try again. There we go. Maybe my knot isn't quite big enough. Right. And then this is the really fiddly bit. And like I said, I am not the best at hand sewing. So now when I go down, try and turn so you can see. As I go down, I just want to catch the top and the bottom here. I don't want to get the elastic inside and through. What's going on with this needle? There we go. I've got a funny shaped hand needle here. Right, let me try and pull the camera down a bit. Excuse my belly. And I'm going to go, whoop. Because it's matching thread, you're not going to see it anyway. So I'm just going, as you can see, through the top layer and the bottom layer. And I did warn you, I'm not the best at hand sewing. This needle doesn't seem to like me either. And you're just going around. Okay. And you've got to do that all the way around. I know it looks like I'm doing really loose stitches at the moment. That is true. I am. Just because I want to do tighter stitches in a moment. Careful not to get your thread tangled up. But this is just to help me to hold it in place. Again, down through the layer. You can feel the elastic there. Very gently up through. Take that pen out. Pull it through. We go. Down. Oh, I think I caught it then. There we go, and up. There we go. So there you can see my terrible hand stitching. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to squidge it out a little bit, and now I'm going to go back around doing smaller stitches to ensure that it stays in place. You see my little small stitches there? Push it through. You don't want to pull it too tight, because otherwise it might look a bit silly. And you're just going around to make sure that's all gonna hold in place. Bring my needle around here. Now, if anybody has any tips for hand sewing, because as I said, I'm not the best at it, which is why I much prefer using my machine. I'd love to know them in the comments below. And I will go through and read all comments. There we go, and then I'm back to the seam line where I started. And now this is where you want to tie the knot. Now, I've gone round. Oh, obviously I've got double threads here, haven't I? So let's try and open it up so it doesn't confuse you. And then I'm going to go through the threads to create a little knot. Pull it nice and tight. Oh no, my needle's unthreaded. Not quite sure how that happened. As I said, I'm not the best at hand sewing. Right. Ooh. But you basically need to make sure that you're tying it off to ensure that it doesn't come loose or come apart. And this is why I didn't hand sew the scrunchie, which can be done. Oh, come on, you silly needle. Thread through. There we go, perfect. So I must have lost an end somewhere, but when I give it a tug, like it's not coming apart. Okay, make sure that's tied nice and tight. I'm just going to trim that because it's got caught up. Ooh. There we go. There's my little stitches. And then to finish it off, after you've tied your knot, push it through the scrunchie. Come on. And then pull it out anywhere in a different place. See that? And then I usually just give it a little tug. Trim it there. and then you can't see the end. And here is your finished scrunchie. And that took me about half an hour, 40 minutes. And these are going to be long lasting. Much better than shop bought ones, hopefully. Well, not hopefully, definitely. And then you can just pop it in your hair. So thank you for watching. It's taken me just over 30 minutes to make the hair scrunchie. If you've got any questions, just ask. Please let me know some tips for hand sewing in the comments below. And yeah, you can buy your kits from fiverrfabric.com, or you can buy your kits from Craftopia as well. And like I said, you get everything in there that you need. I chose to use my sewing machine, but you don't have to, and then you can keep your instructions for later on. All right, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.